You're listening to Zoned Out, the Twilight Zone revisited with Freddie and Joe, a special presentation from NOTLP.com. See, I mixed up the way we do our intro the same way that they mixed up how they do their intro on the show.
I like
Twilight
it.
Zone.
I like it.
Thank you.
Really big shoe. Very nice.
I changed my wording just slightly. Made sure I said BW Beavis a lot. James BW Beavis.
To promote our new show, Zoned Out. Do I mention Zoned Out? It's revisiting the Twilight Zone. Zoned Out. Have you heard of Zoned Out? Are you zoned out?
So we are getting into what is considered, I think, an all-time classic Twilight Zone, a definitive episode. This is called The After Hours. Great title.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Original air date, June 10th, 1960. This is the fourth of 9 episodes directed by Douglas Hayes. If you go back and listen to our And When the Sky Was Opened episode, there's more about Douglas Hayes there, a lot, actually quite a bit. This was written by Rod Serling, but it's kind of based, even though they didn't credit him, on a story by John Collier, who wrote The Chaser that we talked about before. In its Evening Primrose, in that same collection, Fancies and Good Nights, that had The Chaser in it. In 1966, they ended up adapting that. ABC did exactly adapting that story. So I'd be curious to kind of find that and watch that versus what the After Hours and see if it has a drastically different vibe or not. But they're so it's basically the same exact setup. So it has to do with mannequins and such. Cast of 8, including Serling. Our characters are Marcia White, who is Anne Francis from Forbidden Planet. And she's going to be coming back. Yeah. She's going to come back in season 4 for Jezebel. She's best known for playing that character in Forbidden Planet, but she was also Georgia James in Funny Girl. She was also in Mazes and Monsters, if you remember that made-for-TV movie where Tom Hanks goes crazy from playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes! Mazes and Monsters, what a callback.
Yeah. Ooh. She did a lot of stuff. And some of it I think is like in the National Archive and all that. So some of her, I think like she's been in a few things. There's the saleswoman, the mysterious saleswoman, first and only appearance by Elizabeth Allen. She and Charles Nelson Riley appeared on this show called Tattletales, and they were playing a couple.
Oh, really?
If you know Charles Nelson Riley, you know he's like infamously super flamboyantly gay. And and it's also really kind of hilarious, and I'm sure that they had a blast doing that. I can imagine because they were really good friends in real life, is what I understand. So that tickled me a little bit.
That's great.
Yeah, so fun. Mr. Armbruster, who this is James Milholland, who
what a character! Yes. Holy crap!
He is so cartoony. He's so nervous. And just, God, he's just a squirming, overbearing, micromanaging boss.
Yeah, he's so catty and like in your face, and yeah, his face is unbelievably expressive. It's like,
yeah,
he's hard to not watch. It's wild.
I think he's the lifeblood of making the episode exciting. Like his moments really lift, because otherwise it's very eerie and it's a very like kind of quiet episode. But when the excitement, I feel like he just brings a lot of life to it. He's so good, and he's going to come back in a couple other episodes in season 2. We're going to have Burgess Meredith back, and he's in that episode with him, Mr. Dingle the Strong. And then in season 4, he's in I Dream of Jeannie.
Okay.
Which I haven't,
he's such a,
yeah.
Oh, no, good.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say I have yet to verify if I Dream of Jeannie was like also maybe a backdoor pilot for the I Dream of Jeannie TV series. I don't remember, but
oh yeah, we'll have to take a look when that one comes up too. Yeah. I just feel like he's such a he lightens up the mood, because leading up to this, especially at the beginning, if you watch this episode, it has a very kind of dark, almost sinister kind of vibe to it. But he really lightens things up and is like, okay, he's weird, but he's a distraction from the darkness of this episode, which is, I don't know, it's a lot. It's very subtle.
Yeah, you need it. You need him to keep the tone, to keep the episode. Even though the dark parts are super great, but it's so much more watchable having that contrast. It just makes it a more. He just really does zhuzh everything up. He zhuzhes it,
Right.
man. I mean, all the performances are pretty good. But Mr. Sloan, oh no, I skipped over the elevator man. I wanted to mention John Connell. It's the only time he's going to be on screen, but for the entirety of the fourth season, he's the assistant to the producer of the series. So he has a big hand in Twilight Zone history.
He's not assistant producer. He's assistant to the producer.
Assistant to the producer. Yeah.
from The Office. Yeah.
Totally a real thing. Yeah.
And he reminded me of Bing Crosby. He kind of has the droopy eyes of that kind of look.
Boop, 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 boop. Hit him with a bag of oranges.
So bad.
Mr. Sloan, who this is, I don't even know why I made a note of Mr. Sloan. We're going to skip Mr. Sloan. He's not that important. You know, I made a note and then I'm like, it's Patrick White. He's not that interesting. No offense. Miss Keevers. This is the first of 2 appearances by Nancy Rennick. She's going to come back in season 2 for the Odyssey of Flight 33. And real quick, a few things about the episode. As we mentioned last week during the Mr. Beavis podcast, this is one of the 4 episodes that's going to include the eyeball at the beginning, if you're into the weird little trivia bits. This does not have the original 4-note theme at the beginning either in the intro, so that's also changed.
The bum, 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 bum.
Yeah. Despite the fact that Anne Francis is quote unquote mannequin at the very end of the show. That when we get to that, and we'll probably, I'm sure,
spoiler.
Both, yeah, spoiler. we'll probably gush over that because it looks exactly like her, and some people thought it was really her, but it's a death mask they made.
Wow.
Yeah, it just looks so good. So does the other mannequin of saleswoman. Yeah.
And the sailor too. I mean, they're all like, it's remarkable. It's a really cool kind of special effects, and she's gorgeous in this. Like it's
and Francis.
It's all the lighting and all that stuff too. But like, woo,
yeah,
she's a looker.
She is a looker, and so is the saleswoman.
Yeah,
she's got more of like an Evelyn vibe. Kids,
but they're all very
horny kids of the 80s will understand that.
Horny kids wearing the spiked blue and purple bikini. Yes.
Yeah, it made all of us just slightly BDSM. He-Man did, I think.
With the big chest straps on. We all want to become weightlifters too.
Yeah.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger followers.
Everybody wanted to have 18-inch biceps. All the men, some of the women.
Between him and Hulk Hogan, it was all about muscles.
For real.
The 80s.
This episode was remade 26 years later in the 86 reboot. It's paired up with 2 other stories, Lost and Found and The World Next Door, which is something I assume one day we'll do those 80s episodes. Yes. And but they would fit like 3 into an hour time slot. So it was a kind of a different experience to watch. So that one, the 86 one, I think is even darker, which speaks to the thing about, having the levity of the store manager being so fun. I don't know that I don't think they went with that angle, but I haven't seen that in a very, very long time.
I was going to say, I haven't seen a lot of the 85 episodes in a long time, but I remember them being distinctly more dark than these earlier ones. And part of it's, the progression of like, the 60s to the 80s, they had a little more leeway in what they could do and show. But man, I remember them being like, ooh, you not always having a great feeling leaving those episodes.
Yeah. And also, like, ironically, the fact that they're in color makes them somehow darker to me. There's something about like that really pristine black and white look that everything feels more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least less threatening.
Yeah. Definitely. Far removed from reality, a little more fantasy vibe.
Right.
So I'll tell you what, this is probably a good place for us to take a very short break and be right back with the meat. Joe's going to bring the
Sweet.
meat. All right. Welcome back. You're like, what? Welcome back from what? That means you're a patron. Thank you.
Behind the scenes with the ads.
Yeah.
All right. So I will bring the meat. So starts out, and we have the lovely Anne Francis as Marcia browsing through the we don't know that she's Marcia, but browsing through the different aisles here. We'll get introduced to her in just a second. And she's in a department store, which actually is kind of an odd experience for people who haven't been to a department store like this. You know, it's like a Macy's or a J.C. Penney's or a
Wolford Loudard.
Sure,
From
never heard of that
the
one.
Drew Carey Show.
Oh,
It's a their Cleveland department store, which they make a comment in this episode about sending one of the workers to work anywhere east of Cleveland or west of Cleveland.
Oh, yes.
And it made me
Yes.
wonder if this took place in Cleveland. I don't know if they ever blatantly say it.
Oh, that's funny. I don't know where it would have been based.
But this store is very much like the store that Drew Carey works in that old sitcom.
Okay.
Same
Got
style,
it.
full service department store.
Yeah, and so they're very the salespeople are very forward and like in all of that and kind of leading you toward purchase. And so a woman, she's walking by, and this woman's like, may I show you something? And Marcia says, no, that's not what I'm looking for. It kind of struck me funny because like she didn't show her anything.
Yeah.
She just said, no, I'm not looking for you showing me something. I was like, all right.
She's
Okay.
like, wrong department, fool.
I don't even know what you're looking, ma'am. I'm just gonna, okay, goodbye. So, so right before this is before the voiceover, and she's walking around, browsing to this, browsing to that, and she's walking over, and she's sees two elevators, and as she approaches the elevator, one of them has a big line of people people waiting to get on, and the other one opens up, and it's just the elevator attendant in there, which that doesn't exist anymore. But he says, going up, ma'am. And so she goes over and she gets into that elevator. And we hear the first narration voiceover: express elevator to the 9th floor of a department store, carrying Miss Marcia White on a most prosaic, ordinary, run-of-the-mill errand. And he mentions that he's going up to, she's interested in finding a gold thimble and for her mother. And so they say 9th floor. And
The
so he
gold
gets up there.
thimble was such an odd little thing.
Right. Yeah. And the stuff around it, it's like such a kind of a foreign piece of like, oh, anyway, I suppose when being a person who sews would be much more familiar with something as benign as a gold thimble, but
Well, it kind of
would
speaks
stand
to
out
their,
more.
like, you imagine their relationship and her you're like the thimble. If it's the thimble, she must have made clothing for her daughter, right? And so that's
Right.
what she associates with the person who raised her, is getting all these handmade clothes made. And the truth of it is as a mannequin, that is literally her life. Someone makes
Yes.
clothes for her all the time.
Yeah. And we're obviously this has been around forever, so we're spoiling the heck out of this. But
yeah, sorry. in case you didn't know.
So, and that's the really the turning point is if you watch this going into it blind. I hadn't seen it in forever. I knew what the ending was, but I hadn't seen it forever, and so I'm watching it, trying to figure out the episode as I'm watching it, as if I were watching for the first time. And so they're going up in the elevator, and the guy who's the attendant is just kind of like, he's not mean, but he's kind of like dispassionate, almost kind of not conversational and not friendly, you know. And so you're like, oh, that's kind of off-putting or weird. And so she's going up in the elevator, and as she exits, she said, the narration picks up again and says, Miss Marcia White on the 9th floor, specialties department, looking for a gold thimble. The odds are that she'll find it, but there are even better odds that she'll find something else, because this isn't just a department store. This happens to be the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and a flirting with liminal space in a way when they hit that 9th floor.
Mm-hmm.
because it's empty except for the one
Yeah.
sales lady and the single gold thimble that she's looking for. Freaking
Right.
weird.
So she gets there, and you see the meter, or the whatever, the readout for the elevator, and it goes up to 8, and then R, and it goes past that,
Yeah.
and there's nothing there, but the space opens up, and it's an empty department store. And it's basically looks like an abandoned floor,
Yeah.
and there's all these like kind of displays and stuff, but it's just kind of storage mostly. And so she's walking around. She's like, "This is weird," and she's like, "I think you brought me to the wrong." And as she's talking, the elevator doors close and he disappears. And she's like, "Oh, okay." So she starts walking around. She's like, kind of confused and trying to figure out what's going on. And a saleswoman. This is a really cool scene. A saleswoman says, "Can I help you?" Kind of off screen, but then appears in silhouette, like in shadow, behind the display case, and she's out of the scene, ray of the light, but you can see her silhouette, so it's very kind of menacing.
High
And
collar.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
that's cool.
a very kind of daunting, kind of like almost like you said, Evil Lynn, or a wicked stepmother,
Yeah.
like the queen from Sleeping Beauty, or what was it? Yeah, it was Sleeping Beauty. And but then she comes into the scene. You can see she's very finely dressed, a woman, saleswoman, and she's very intense, like staring right at Marcia and having a conversation. And Marcia's like, yeah, this is weird. I'm looking for a gold thimble, you know? And she's like, "Oh, let me help you find something." And she doesn't break her gaze with Marcia. And I thought at first, I was wondering if she didn't blink, but she does eventually blink. It's like she does, as she's walking, she's still looking at Marcia, like turning her head. It's like, what is going
Yeah.
on?
So intense.
Yeah, there's a little like reason for that later, but also I think it leads to this idea of like, oh, okay, something's very odd here, and
Yeah, when you
it's
find out the twist, yeah, you can totally make sense of that scene
right,
because
right,
when you're like, oh, she's just excited.
yeah, yeah,
She's wanting
and
to
so
get
she
clues.
finally finding out more, and so she comes around, and then there's another point where she walks around the display case and just stops and is looking at Marcia, and it's just
Yeah,
like, you're like, what is going on?
and I do mean the
And so
saleswoman is excited, not Marcia.
yeah,
Marcia's
yeah.
scared.
Marcia's like, what is she's us, right? She's like, what's happening? And they have a display case, and she flips on a light, the saleswoman does, and it's one gold thimble in this whole place, in this one spot. She pulls it out, and she's like, here you go.
You're
And
conditioned
she's
at
like,
this
what?
point from watching episodes of Twilight Zone that there's thimble is more than a mulligan or a red herring. You think the first time you see this episode, there's some real big significance to the thimble.
Right, right. And so she pulls it out, and she's like, oh, okay, and she's like, it's 22 whatever plus tax, and she goes, $25 even. And do you want it get? You want it get? She says she doesn't ask if she wanted gift wrapped. She says, "You want it gift wrapped?" And she said, "Yes." And then she says, "Actually, no. I'll wrap it myself. Like, I need to get the heck out of here." And she picks it up and goes, "Ma'am, that's..." And Marcia's like, "What?" And she goes, "That's $25. Like, you have to pay for this." And so anyway, she goes to leave, and she's turns around the corner of the display case, and Marcia goes, "Now that's odd." And the woman says, "What is, Marcia?" And she goes, "Well, you haven't any merchandise here at all except for that thimble, except the very thing I needed. The whole floor, it looks so empty." And she pauses for a second. She goes, "You called me Marcia." And the woman goes, "Did I? I'm sorry. That was very forward of me. I apologized." Like, very like, ba 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 ba, you know. I'm holding back my emotions, but I am telling you that I am sorry right now.
Yeah, you
And
also
you're
get
like,
the feeling that, like, to the saleswoman, this is not a big deal, anything that's happening. She's very light
right.
about the way she's seeing things. You're almost like she's having fun.
Well, and she seems a little pissed at at Marcia. Like, you're not sure why, but like, why is she being so mean? You know?
It's funny. I read that more as playful when I get to, because when you, to me, knowing the end and how it plays out, you get the feeling that it's like if you and I were friends, right? But one day you had minor amnesia.
Right.
And I knew talking, like I might still bust your balls, but you would think that it's like really rude because you don't remember our relationship.
Right.
So
right.
it's like, so that's another reason this episode is so good, because it watches differently every time, depending on how fresh you are on it. I've seen this one a lot.
And it's wild because then she's like, and then Marcia's like, just like, you're very strange. I'm going to, I'm whatever. And then the saleswoman, she says, Marcia, are you happy? And she's like, am I what? Am I happy? And just like that's kind of a stuttering way to, and she's like, well, I'm afraid that that's just none of your business. And she's like, oh, it's none of my business. I kept imagining if they did it these days, be like, oh, it's none of my fucking business, huh? Oh, none of my business. Fine. Then it's none of my business, Marcia. So she's like, okay. And Marcia's like, this is so weird. And she goes and the elevator opens and she gets back in there and she's like, that woman is so strange. And I don't know why you have a whole floor for just one item. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. And you're seeing the elevator attendant in the foreground, and she's in the background, and she's saying all these things. And then she opens up and looks at the thimble, and she's like, "Oh, it's scratched." And she like holds it in front of the guy's face, and she's like, "Look, right here, it's scratched." And he's like, "Third floor complaints." And she's like, but it's scratched. And he's like, third floor complaints. And the doors open. He's like, third floor complaints. Like, wow, okay, got it. So she gets off, and then it kind of clips to this scene where we have, as we saw, Mr. Armbruster, not Armbuster, but Armbruster.
Armbruster.
Who's that the character we talked about earlier, talking to, he's the sales floor manager talking to the store manager. And basically it's an opportunity for us to meet these two characters, to highlight the the specialness of Mr. Armbruster. And he's talking about Marcia, clearly in like past as having someone having talked to her, and him having talked to her. And he's like making little catty comments on the side, like he talked about being served by, or she talked about being served by an odd woman. Odd woman. Oh, she would know. And I was like, wow, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if you've ever worked retail. There was part of it where I was kind of like, okay, no, I know how that goes, because sometimes you would talk about customers like, okay, this person's stood out. And but anyway, they have this conversation back and forth, and he was basically like, well, just tell her to return it to the place. And he's like, I did tell her to return it to the place, except she said she got it on the 9th floor. Well, did you tell her we don't have a 9th floor? Dun, dun, dun. And anyway, long story short, the two of them go out to talk to Marcia, and Marcia's like, well, and kind of reiterates the whole thing. I was up there. She was very odd. And I wanted to, get this resolved. And so they're like, well, we can't return this to the 9th floor. We just have to bring this back to where it was. And she's insistent in being like, no. Oh, and there's the woman who served me. And she sees from behind the high-necked dress of the woman who was helping her. And she's like, ma'am, can you explain the situation? And a person comes up from behind, grabs the woman and picks her up and walks away from her. And then you see from the front that this is actually a mannequin. And Marcia, like, she has this real startling moment. There's a zoom in and everything. She covers her mouth. It's a classic Twilight Zone twist. And she freaks out. She's like, what? And it clips to a moment later, and it's one of the other sales people on the floor, the woman who actually at the very beginning of the episode asks Marcia if she can help her. and she's explaining that she's laying down now. I think she's okay. And Mr. Armbruster is like, well, just give her anything she needs, whatever. We'll take care of her. Just get her out of here. The store is closing. It's 6 o'clock. And then he goes around and he's like clapping his hands and like, ma'am, we're closing down. He's like, what I'd really like to do is give her a bus ticket. And you're saying to to somewhere west of the
Cleveland,
store.
Yeah.
Preferably west of Cleveland, preferably Chicago or Honolulu. Like, ooh, that's a zinger. And he, again, doing all the expressiveness in his face. It's pretty great.
Yeah, he does the big eyes. He punctuates things
yeah.
with the big, pushes his eyes out.
Yes. And so then she's about to go work with Marcia, and then she gets called away. We hear off screen of someone saying, so-and-so, someone needs help over here. And so she doesn't go to help Marcia. Then we see the clock move to 6:30 and it's dark. And we see Marcia kind of get up from a couch and she's walking around. Everyone's gone. The store's clearly closed. She starts kind of walking out into the sales floor. And this is again on the 3rd floor. And she's looking at stuff and just kind of taking it all in. And she hears a voice from behind her, and she's like, Marcia. And she's like, what was that? Oh, she startles herself by seeing herself in a mirror at one point, which is an interesting kind of reflection. And so she starts hearing Marcia, and then you see it zoom in on one of the mannequins. They're like, Marcia. And then you hear a man's voice, Marcia. And you keep hearing different names, and she's looking at all the different mannequins around her. And
you remember? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just before I forget, have you ever seen Tourist Trap?
No.
It's a great horror movie, but there's a reference. The end of Tourist Trap is a reference to this moment from the Twilight Zone.
Oh, nice.
It's real creepy. It's a fun 80s kind of slasher movie.
Oh, cool.
Highly recommend.
Excellent. And then there's then they start saying other stuff like, come off it, Marcia, like what is going on? And she's flipping out. Like she's covering her face and like trying to cover her ears. Like she looks like she's going crazy. And they start talking to her more and more. And then it keeps zooming in on each of the mannequins' faces. And she kind of stumbles off to the side and she knocks over the sailor mannequin. And the sailor is you can see it looks just like the elevator attendant. And you're like, wait, what's going on? And at one moment, and I missed this the first time I watched it because I watched it a couple of times. And as she's coming around one more corner, she's moving kind of in the direction of the elevator, kind of like figuring out where to go and what to do. And one of the mannequins moves its arm. And I was like, and she freaks out and she runs into the elevator and she's like crying hysterically and freaking out. And these are all these voices are talking to her, and she falls kind of down into the elevator and crying. And the elevator doors close and you can see that's going up, and it goes up to the 9th floor and the doors open and she goes to run out. And the woman who helped her find the thimble is the mannequin is there, and she kind of falls backwards again. And then you hear the voice that say, Marcia, you're acting like a child, you really need to stop. And she walks forward, and it's the woman being in human form again. And then she kind of picks her up, and this is the actress, Anne Francis did great in this. She's bawling, like she really seems hysterical, and I hesitate to use that phrase because it's had such a bad connotation, but she's having she's freaked out and crying really intensely. And the woman kind of picks her up and guides her onto the floor. And it's really kind of a almost caring, like motherly way. And as she's slowly bringing her forward, she stops crying and the music cue kicks in. And it's that great music cue from, what's it? A Mile? What's the one where he goes?
Last Stop at Willoughby? Or no, just over the Walking Distance?
Walking Distance. Thank you.
I was sitting here, I'm like, wait, no, that's not one. Yep. Walking Distance.
And it's that sweet music from the moment where they're in the carousel in that episode, where it's kind of just very caring and sad, but kind of beautiful. and she's guiding Marcia over to another area of the floor, and as she does, you see these other people, which we find out later are all the rest of the mannequins,
Yeah.
walking with them very slowly, very solemnly, very calmly.
And about that music too. This is again, you'll notice that if you've been paying attention that over the last few episodes, I haven't been mentioning the composers' names anymore because it's hit a point now where they're just reusing music from the whole series so far. They have a really good like stock library, and so you're hearing like mixes in these episodes of work by sometimes 5 different composers.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That they're well, and that they reuse all that stuff, and it's cool too because it gives it a sense of like familiarity to the music. Like, where have I heard this music before? Well, it was a few
Yeah.
episodes ago.
They have all their
So-
emotional cues. It made me think it makes me think that they probably had moods like figured out, you know, like they're like, okay, when we're dealing with this mood, here's this bank of music and this mood, that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. It is very
Yeah.
consistent.
We want to reflect, hit that sad stinger, you know,
Yeah.
we'll do that. And that, so they all kind of gather over there, and she's looking around at everyone. It made me laugh every time. There's a couple of mannequins who were clearly like skiing mannequins, and they have like these masks on that cover everything except for their eyes and their mouth, but it's really decorative around the front of it, like. And so they look like luchadors or something.
Yeah.
So I see those, that breaks the mood for me. But what was that?
They could also look pretty scary too. You're kind of
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Yeah, could be creepy. Actually, I took a trip to Peru once, and those types of masks were real popular there. And it was, I don't know if it was the time of year or whatever, but like had real colorful masks, and then they had designs, and they had like mustaches. And anyway,
Was it cold in Peru?
no,
They
but they
wore
were
the
still selling that
mask
stuff.
anyway. Wow.
Yeah, well, nobody wore them; they just were selling them. I think it
Oh,
was
I
one of
see.
those like, you're from not this country. Here,
Yeah.
you probably have cold where you come from. So they start talking to her, and the saleswoman again starts talking with her and explains, "Do you remember? Try and concentrate." You know, very kind of coaching, mothering her, talking her through it. And she's like, "Oh, I'm a mannequin. I'm a mannequin. I just remembered." And she's like, "Yeah, and you know, we each take turns leaving for a month to go live with the outsiders, and you were supposed to be back last night, and you didn't come back." And she said, "Oh yes, of course." And Marcia says, "Well, yes, of course." And the saleswoman says, "Well, it was my turn last night. I'm already 1 day delayed, or I'm 1 day delayed already." And she says, "Of course," Marcia says, "of course, I'm sorry, I forgot. When you're on the outside, everything seems so normal, as if," and the sailor kind of comes up from behind her and is kind of smiling. He's like, "As if what, Marcia?" And Marcia says, "As if we were like the others, like the outsiders, like the real people." And it's kind of like a sad reflection. And the woman says, "Well, no serious harm done." And then it kind of clips to another scene where the saleswoman is like making her way because she wants to get going, and everyone's kind of happy to see her go. So they all kind of accompany her as they walk off to the elevator, and she's going to go down and have her month with the outsiders. And then it was kind of it's a really interesting scene as she gets on, that everybody kind of waves at once, which is normal, but they all their arms kind of fall down slowly, almost like they're slowing down, you know. And then it clips back to just the sailor and Marcia, and the sailor says, he's smiling again, "Did you enjoy yourself, Marcia? Was it fun?" And she's kind of sweetly and sadly reflecting, like, "Ever so much fun." And she kind of arranges her arms to look in a static mannequin pose, and she goes, "Ever so much fun." Like, it's sad, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
I remember the episode being like, made me kind of sad at the end. It wasn't bad, but it was just kind of sad. And it kind of backs out, and she's frozen in space, frozen herself, and he's also kind of frozen himself. And we fade out and come back in with the sales floor the next day, and the sales floor manager again is lightening the mood. He's walking around and talking about how we expect $100 out of you today, and one of the saleswomen, and then he's like, "Keep your powder dry, darling, or something like that. And the woman like shows him the powder, and he's like, well, it'll sell. And then it's like, oh, okay. And and then he chastises a group of women for talking to each other at 9 a.m. because they have to be at their sales posts. And he's walking around the corner, and he stares right at the camera. He looks into the camera, breaks the fourth wall a little bit, and then turns behind himself and sees Marcia there, and then looks back at the camera and is like, I don't know, and walks off camera.
I love that character so goddamn much.
Yeah. And then it zooms into slowly into Marcia, and we get the voiceover for the outro, and it says, Marcia White, in her normal and natural state, a wooden lady with a painted face, who, 1 month out of the year, takes on the characteristics of someone as normal and as flesh and blood as you and I. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Just how normal are we? Just who are the people? We have our hellos. We nod our hellos to as we pass on the street. A rather good question to ask, particularly in the Twilight Zone.
So, I feel like, and I don't know if he's ever said anything about this, but I feel like Ben Stiller may have drawn a lot of inspiration from this episode for Severance. Do you watch Severance?
I don't. I have to watch that one.
You should.
Everybody's talking about it,
and it's not because it's about a store or mannequins or anything, but the idea, the basic concept is out there, is that in Severance, you have an innie who works all day and an outie who lives the leisure part of your life, and they don't share memories with each other, so that you don't know what you're missing on the inside or the outside. And it's literally, it involves an elevator regularly as part of it. It has a lot of the same themes. I feel like this must have been percolating in his mind, because Ben Stiller's also a huge original Star Trek series fan of the
Sure.
60s series, and there's so many connections to Twilight Zone that I would imagine he's probably also a big Twilight Zone fan. But that show's phenomenal.
He does a lot of he does a lot. When we used to, I don't know if anybody remembers the Ben Stiller show. It had Janine Garofalo and Andy Dick on it, I think.
It was great.
And there were some super funny skits.
Yeah.
He did a Tony Robbins impersonation, which the only thing I remember about it is he's super excited and his teeth are glaring white and he's super tan.
It's the one with the what was it called? Like the gazelle?
Yeah, I don't know. But at one point, the person's asking him these questions and he's answering with lots of enthusiasm. And it's the standard infomercial. The last question is, he goes, Tony, are you the devil? And he goes, I am the devil. I am Satan. Or I am Satan. I am the devil. Just as plain as day. It just made me chuckle.
Yeah.
But it was a great fun. But it's clear, kind of like The Simpsons, and that's kind of sketch comedy. You draw from a lot of cultural references, and he clearly had a lot of influence there too.
Had a weird backlash period where people were kind of after like Zoolander, between Zoolander and Two-Lander and beyond.
Yeah.
But I think now he's kind of he's recognized for the massive creative talent that he is. I do feel like he had that, though, a kind of a dark period, where people were rotten to him, treating him like dirt.
Well, I think he stopped doing a lot of the acting stuff, and I wonder if that's pulled him, I don't know, pulled him out of that somehow. But he had a interesting pedigree too, because his family was all actors, and Jerry from
oh yeah,
or not Jerry, what's the kid from Seinfeld?
Yeah, he was George Costanza's dad.
Yeah.
I can't remember his first name. I love that show. He was also on King of Queens, but he and he and his wife both had been from vaudeville, I believe, were involved in entertainment.
Yeah, which you grow up in a family like that, and it's got to be, it's got to be kind of weird, to, I don't know, just experiencing that, and so you get kind of immersed in. Oh, Jerry Stiller, yeah,
Jerry Stiller, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It must have been weird to grow up in that, but clearly he's absorbed a lot of the references. So I think that's made him better at connecting with people in the zeitgeist and whatever that is too. Zoolander, oh God, it will always be. The second one was awful in my experience.
Yeah.
But the first one was so funny.
The first one is funny. The gas
ridiculous.
station scene in particular always kills me.
And just all the little, like, you know, David Bowie as the catwalk judge, and who else was the just all the little references here and there. That's good stuff.
Absolutely. But yeah, you got to watch Severance, Joe. I'm dying to know what you think of it. But you'll,
all right.
And remember to think about this episode. I think you'll see the same connections. There's a lot of connections there.
I love it. Maybe we'll start a Severance cast, and on the side, I'm sure there's not 100 of those.
We'll do it in let's see, how long has it been since these episodes air? 65 years. So in another 65 years, we'll go and watch Severance.
Our AI singularity representatives, our avatars, we'll do them.
Yep. Our brains in jars.
There you go. And next up is Mighty Casey, which I remember as a kid being kind of a funny episode, and mostly because of it has funny noises and stuff in it, but it's pretty lighthearted.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And hopefully Matt will be with us then. He says good to go. So
right on.
Cool. Thank you so much, Joe. And
thanks for joining us, everybody. Take care.